Hey, what's up guys? And welcome back to Reddit Horror Stories. In today's video, you'll hear some truly terrifying real-life encounters, stories that real people have actually experienced and lived to tell. So make sure you stick around till the end, because every single story here is absolutely worth listening to. Before we begin, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really helps the channel grow, and I appreciate it more than you know. And after listening, let me know in the comments, which story scared you the most? Alright then, without further ado, welcome to Reddit Horror Stories. Have you ever had a job that you actually enjoyed and figured you could do it for the rest of your life? I did once, when I was 25 years old. I got a job as a ranger at the Smoky Mountains National Park. In all honesty, the job was gravy. Just riding around all day on a golf cart enforcing rules and picking up trash. Every once in a while there were some unruly campers. But other than that, I loved it. But one cool fall morning changed all that. In fact, it changed my life forever. I was riding around like normal when a young couple ran in front of my cart. I had to slam on the brakes to keep from hitting them. They were freaking out and the mother's eyeliner was running from all the tears. They were camping in an RV and explained that their 5-year-old snuck out in the middle of the night while they slept. I tried to calm them down and assure them that he had to be close by, but they were adamant that they looked everywhere and he was nowhere to be found. They were scared and had already called the police, who had yet to show. I didn't have any kids of my own, but I could tell these folks were hurting. I felt that as a ranger, I had a responsibility to help them. So while they waited for the police, I told them I'd search a nearby trail for the boy. They seemed satisfied by my offer, so I parked my cart and headed out on foot. The woman sent me a picture of her child so I'd know who I was looking for. He was a sweet and innocent-looking kid, smiling while holding up a fish they'd caught the day prior. She said he was wearing a baseball cap from his dad's favorite sports team and answered to Jack. I started my trek hopeful, certain that he'd wandered somewhere close by. Missing persons were something I'd dealt with before, but they were always found within a few hours. As I walked, I called out his name over and over, but there were no replies and the woods were dead quiet. I prayed that poor Jack didn't slip into one of the many streams and drowned, or God forbid became the prey of a hungry black bear. Though I tried my best to push thoughts like this down. As I walked on, I began to hear some strange noises, an owl-like hoot that seemed to follow me the deeper I went. I'd studied many of the animals that were in these woods, and had never heard a call like that before, and I thought most owls only came out at night. But you never know in these woods. One of the older rangers often told me he saw Bigfoot multiple times a week. He even claimed that if you brought him a bag of jerky, he'd pat you on your head. But hey, his name wasn't Crazy Gary for nothing. Meanwhile, I saw no signs of the child, not even a single footprint. By this time, I figured the police had arrived and would send in the hounds. But just before I turned around, someone finally answered me. A child's voice called out to me, "Hey, I'm over here." I quickly ran in its direction and shouted again. "Jack, is that you?" I called out, but there was no reply. Figuring he was scared, I persisted. "I'm a ranger. Your parents and I are looking for you. If you can hear me, follow my voice." But again, nothing, though I was certain it was him. Now off the beaten path, I heard that stupid owl again. Not sure why it was following me, but I was a man on a mission. I pushed through brush and briars trying to find this lost child. All of a sudden, I'd hear him again. He was even closer now. "Mister, please help. I'm lost," he said in a weak voice. "Where are you? Are you hurt? Just come out. I'm trying to help you." The brush was so heavy that I had to snap large tree limbs just to reach him. The briars had shredded my legs and left them a bloodied mess. Finally, I'd come to a clearing, but there would be no little boy waiting for me. Instead, I saw a rundown old shack in the middle of the forest. It was falling apart and looked as if it had been here for 100 years. The roof looked like it was made of straw, and there were no windows. There was no door either, and I could see right inside. I had been at this job for almost a year, and no one had told me there was a house out here. Letting curiosity get the better of me, I decided to walk inside. Once in there, a putrid smell caught my attention. I say that because it almost made me gag. The only way I could describe it was something dead and rotting. Perhaps that wasn't odd, since everything in here was old and molding. In fact, the best way I could describe this house would be from that one video game. You know, the one where you have to save the president's daughter from that weird zombie cult. In the middle of the table, I noticed an old pot. It had this strange substance leaking out the side that looked like tomato paste. Again, I let my curiosity decide my next move. And what I saw next was something I'd never forget. Inside of that pot was human remains boiling in blood. There were fingers and toes, a nose and ears. Eyeballs floated to the top and looked right into my soul. To top it off, these remains were small, like that of a child's. I dropped to the floor and began to hyperventilate. I couldn't believe what I'd just stumbled upon. I didn't want to believe it, but this wasn't a dream. Lying on the floor next to me was something else familiar. A blood-stained baseball cap, the same one from the mother's picture. Something terrible happened here and I needed help. I grabbed the bloody cap and rushed outside. But what waited for me was something I never expected. Blocking my way were two old people, two disgusting people. They both wore rags and had long and scraggly gray hair. The man had a beard that was stained red around his mouth. The woman's teeth were rotten and her nails long and yellow. They both began to giggle and make strange hoots at each other. I knew then it was no owl I was being stalked by. Then the old woman uttered the words, "Help me," in a childish tone. Adrenaline filled my body and I pulled out the mace that each ranger was given. I sprayed it directly into their contorted and inbred faces. They fell to the ground, squealing and writhing in pain. I ran away as fast as I could, all the while horrified by what I'd found. Never did I ever think this peaceful job in nature would take a turn like this. That poor child had been brutalized by those monsters and it was too late to save him. I ran and ran, not stopping no matter what. I quickly found myself back at the camping area. Two police officers were jotting down notes as the worried parents explained what happened. I ran over and nearly tackled one of the officers to the ground. I literally shook him by his collar, recounting the horrors I'd come upon. "They killed him!" I cried. "Those monsters killed him. You have to do something." I'll never forget the look on both parents' faces as I broke the news. I even handed over the gory hat as proof to what I found. The police quickly called for backup and shut down the entire park. They took me and the parents to the station for interviews. I could hear the mother's wails of sorrow echoing down the halls. In fact, I still hear them in my dreams to this day. I was so distraught and horrified they were talking about committing me. I heard that they sent a SWAT team into the woods and did what they had to. The feral people tried to attack them. They didn't even understand human language. They were like animals that fed off of their fellow man to survive. I heard that more than a few bodies had been found, all eaten and mutilated just like young Jack. While not sent away, I did many years of therapy to try and cope with what I saw. I was prescribed meds and even dealt with bouts of PTSD. I quit my job, of course. I never went back into the woods, period. It even took me a while to look at food the same way again. Just knowing what happened to that child made it impossible to eat. I lost over 100 pounds and had multiple hospital stays. As the years passed, I've managed to put all this behind me, but I'll never forget the horrors I saw that day. In the woods, people are usually afraid of bears or getting lost, but I've seen the true terror of what can happen out there. That feral hillbillies stalk innocent campers with murderous intent. That hundreds go missing every year, and I saw firsthand what happens to them.